On today's show,
Definitely, people tell you definitely a lot that to treat it like a normal game, but going into it, it feels nothing like a normal game. There's so much more pressure. Like, you have all your hometown that's coming out to this game, like hoping that you take home the win, the title of the state.
Gobble Day is just a couple days away, and we have plenty to be thankful for here at Kansas Sports Chatter. Welcome into the show. I'm Cole Reif. It is a statewide high school sports entertainment show streaming on YouTube and wherever you get your podcasts. Hey, appreciate it's been a fun ride over the last 3 months, whether you've been with us from day number one or this is the first time you're tuning in and watching or listening. I appreciate all the love and support. Excited to get back at it after the holiday week. There is still a lot of excitement to close out the fall sports. High school football state championships, they start this Friday and Saturday across the states, and we will have a lot of state high school football talk here on today's show. The guests, Dylan Halderson, Skyler Thimesch of Cunningham High School, getting ready for their six-man state title game. They'll be with us in the leadoff question. Brent Maycock with KSHSAA Covered. We'll talk about the recent state championship Hayes High brought home in unified bowling. Kyrstie Miller with Wamego Golf, the head coach, will be our quality time interview, talking about their state championship they won. Jeff Bollig with the Kansas Sports Hall of Fame, the chairman, will preview one of the Hall of Fame candidates, Joe Carter. Conor, Nicholl, Sunflower Sports Solutions. He will talk state championship football games, including the six-man and eight-man games. So big on those games with Conor, Nicholl. Kassidy Nixon, a member of the Pittsburg State University volleyball team, formerly of Barton Community College and Central Plains High School, will be our next level talents. And Junction City radio broadcaster Anthony Gorges will be with us here at the end with a radio highlights. We'll get to hear one of his radio highlights to close out the pre-Thanksgiving show. Let's get things started with today's leadoff question. It is our leadoff question with Dylan Halderson, a member of the Cunningham football program. And our question today, Dylan, what is the best high school game that you've seen in person or been a part of?
I'd say the best high school game that I've been a part of was last year in the state championship game for six-man. It was definitely probably the best game I've been a part of. Ended up being a 1-point game. We finished second, but definitely the best game I've been a part of.
What were some of the highlights and just some of the moments that stood out to you in that ball game?
For sure, a highlight would be we were down by – I can't even remember how much we were down. We were down at halftime by quite a bit, and we came out at halftime and just, we started playing football again. It's like we forgot to that first half, and we started playing football and came back and made a 1-point game at the end. And, we were, 1 point from a state championship, so can't complain too much, but, sucks a little bit that we finished short.
Sure. Any specific highlight, though, that stood out in that ball game that you remember?
There was one possession on defense where there was, it was what got us to that 1 point game. Me and a couple of the others, we went and we had a sack, and then we had another sack, and then we pinned them on their own, I think, 30-yard line, and then we went in and we scored a touchdown. But definitely the defense series there where we stopped them for. It was 4 plays in our ball back. That was definitely a big highlight for me.
What's the intensity like when you get into a ball game like that? Not only a playoff game, but you mentioned a championship game. What was the intensity like for you?
I don't know. It's just one of those things where you don't feel like it's anything different than a normal football game. But then, you make a big play or something big happens and you look around and you have, your whole community in the stands, and you look on the other sideline, they have their whole community. It's crazy compared to any other six-man game.
That is Dylan Halderson with Cunningham football joining us for our leadoff question. It is our leadoff question on Kansas Sports Chatter with Skyler Thimesch, a member of the Cunningham High School football team. Skyler, what is the best high school game that you've seen in person or been a part of?
Probably my favorite high school football game I've been a part of was probably last year's state football game when we went against Weston, and we came down to a 1-point loss against them.
What was your mentality going in? Like, what was the feeling going into a state championship game?
Definitely my mentality and feeling going into the game was really hyped. I was just excited to be like it being my third year going to state, and just the fact that I made it there again and again after like another, and just it was stoked. It was amazing going into it.
What were some of the plays that stood out to you that you remember? Any highlights?
There was a couple highlights that was made by our quarterback, Will. He had a really heck of a good game that day. He had a bunch of good passes to our receiver, Luke and Doggin Reed. He pitched the ball to me for a couple of swings and touchdowns out to the outside, and where I would make a run and down the field and get a touchdown. So definitely me getting those touchdowns and Will helping us through the rough time with his skills definitely was probably my favorite plays and highlights.
I know you mentioned coming up on the wrong side, but when you have a game like that, did you immediately know that, hey, that was probably one of the better games I've been a part of?
Yes, definitely. So how the game ended up coming down is our first and second quarter, we were down by quite a loss. I think it was maybe a 30-point loss at the going into halftime. And then during halftime, just the morale got picked up. I mean, we were hyping each other up in the locker room, saying that it's not over. Even though it's a 30-point loss so far, we can still come back to it. And so going back on that field from all that hype up in the locker room definitely got everyone back pumping in blood. And we came back from that loss to being only a 1-point loss. And it just comes down to, like, who has the most, like, integrity at the end of the game and who can keep going at the end of the day. And so it's definitely sad to lose the game. I mean, I think everyone was wanting to win it. Everyone would love to get a second state title in our careers. But, I mean, how the game is set, it's set at the beginning of the game. You have to push yourself through from the start to the finish.
I know everyone tries to say, hey, just treat a playoff game or a state championship game just like any other normal game. But the reality is, man, it's so much more intense. What is that feeling like when you are trying to keep it like normal, but at the same time knowing that it is a state championship game?
Definitely, people tell you a lot that to treat it like a normal game, but going into it, it feels nothing like a normal game. There's so much more pressure. Like, you have all your hometown that's coming out to this game, like hoping that you take home the win, the title of the state. And so it definitely puts a lot on your shoulders and a lot of pressure. So it gets to a lot of people's heads. But I mean, like you said, you got to brush it off. You got to play football and like have a good time, have fun, like be out on the field with everyone. I mean, treat it like any other game, like you said.
That is Skyler Thimesch, a member of the Cunningham football team, with today's leadoff question. Comments from Skyler Thimesch and Dylan Halderson of Cunningham High School, and that was obviously before they got ready for this upcoming state championship game. So maybe they'll have a new favorite game, but talking about one of their favorite games, and that was a dandy last year, and hopefully have another good one coming up this weekend with Weston and Cunningham in the six-man state title game. A break in the action. When we come back, Brent Maycock with KSHSAA Covered, longtime sports writer throughout the state of Kansas. He'll talk about the Unified Bowling State Championship that Hayes High won recently. Brent Maycock joins us next.
The key to a great game is sportsmanship. It is essential to show respect to your opponents, teammates, coaches, and yourself. Playing hard, being fair, and having fun are what sportsmanship is all about. Whether you win or lose, congratulate your team and opponents for their hard work and dedication. Good sportsmanship is about demonstrating integrity, fairness, and respect. Let's show the world what true sportsmanship is all about this season.
It is story time on Kansas Sports Chatter as we get to talk with one of the staff writers for KSHSAA Covered, Brent Maycock, joining us here. Hey, Brent, appreciate your time once again. For you, I think the last time I had you on, I teased about winter sports that were coming up. I mean, there's not much of a tease anymore. They're coming up. How do you kind of make that transition from fall to winter?
Well, it's a hectic one to be certain. We're trying to wrap up all the fall sports and get the final football and everything else that's been taking place over the last month. And it seems like you go straight from one championship to another, and to another, and you don't really have time to catch your breath. And at the same time, you're planning all the preview stuff for all the winter sports. We've already come out with our swimming previews, and we got wrestling coming up here over the weekend and early next week, and then basketball. So yeah, it's a pretty hectic time right now trying to mesh two seasons into one.
Well, you mentioned state championships. You were able to cover a Hayes High state championship with the Unified Bowling. What was it like covering the event?
I think it's either the third or fourth year I've done it. I believe it's the fourth year I've covered Unified State Bowling, and it's really a rewarding event to go do. It's a lot of special needs kids, no matter of all kinds of spectrums. You could have somebody with autism, you could have somebody with a physical disability, a mental disability, and it's their chance to kind of be a part of their school athletics program. You don't get to see them compete in football or basketball or track or baseball or softball or some of these other sports. But, Unified Bowling's really opened up that opportunity with coordination with the Special Olympics, and they just really do a nice job. And if you want pure emotion and pure enthusiasm and excitement about a sport, it's an event to go watch, because the competitors, both the special needs and the other kids that work with them on the bowling teams, they just have so much fun with the event, and there's so much excitement and emotion, and the kids just get so thrilled and pumped up about, even just, hey, I didn't have a gutter ball that time, or hey, I got a spare, or I got a strike, or, I'm contributing in this way or that way. So it's a really rewarding event to go watch. And everybody that I've ever talked to said, you come away from that just feeling really good about high school sports, high school kids, and high school athletics.
Well, for those that aren't aware, like, kind of to explain the setup for Unified Bowling and how it works. You mentioned the relationship with the other bowling teams with the school. Kind of explain that relationship.
Yeah, a lot of the teams will have one or two maybe bowlers from their regular bowling team, but a lot of the kids that participate in this aren't on the bowling team. They just want to go out and have fun and assist these special needs kids in their sporting endeavor. So that's kind of cool to see that you don't have, you're not necessarily bringing over the state championship bowler from Great Bend or Bishop Carroll or wherever they may be from. It's just kids that want to be a part of this unified effort, and so that makes it pretty cool. And obviously you do have some good bowlers that come and help, and some of these teams that win regularly, you're going to have a bowler that's participated on their state championship team. But it's really fun. And, they bowl 6 games, and it's Baker games. And if anybody's not familiar with a Baker, that's basically where you have 3 or 4 people set up and they take their turn. So, bowler 1 bowls frame 1, and then bowler 2 bowls frame 2, and so on. And then you get back into the rotation. So bowler 1 may bowl frame 1, 5, 9 or something like that, and then your special needs kids also bowl at least 2 or 3 frames during that. I can't remember exactly how many it is, and then they bowl 6 games, and you go back and forth, and it's so fun to watch the momentum that gets going. Bowling is a highly momentum sport, kind of like volleyball can be. Volleyball is one of those where, a team gets on a roll and it seems like they could do nothing wrong. Well, bowling can be that way too, where somebody gets a strike and then the next kid gets a strike, and now everybody's amped up and they're ready to go. And it's just, it's a really fun thing to watch. And, it takes everybody to get it done. It's not just, hey, we relied on this one person to carry us. It takes a whole team to win a state title, because the level of bowling from everybody involved, not just your regular bowlers, but your special needs bowlers and everybody, that the level has been raised to a pretty high level, especially from teams out in the Western Athletic Conference.
Yeah, you talk about the WAC. What were you able to kind of unfold when you were able to talk with the Hayes coaches or the Hayes officials? Anything that stood out to you?
Well, it was kind of just, it was like their turn. The tournament has been dominated by the WAC here recently. Garden City, won the title 2 years ago. Last year, Great Bend won it and went 1, 2, 3 in the WAC, with Hayes finishing second and then Liberal finishing third. And then Liberal actually had the best regional score coming into last week's state meet. They had rolled their best score of the year to get to the state tournament and beat Hayes by just a handful of pins out there. And those two, plus Garden City and Great Bend, all their scores from their regional were better than anybody from any other regional. So all the regional champions at the other regionals, their winning score was lower than what all these Western Athletic Conference teams had done. And so Hayes had been really strong all year. They'd been over 1,000 pins collectively all season long, and then they just really put it all together. They kind of started out a little slow. Great Bend really got out to a nice start. Had 2 games over 200 to start the competition, but then they kind of hit a little lull, and when they hit a little lull, Hayes kind of came up, and then Liberal started slow, and they started coming up, and it was just fun to kind of watch those 3 teams, and you can tell, kind of by the emotions, you could hear a cheer down here or a cheer over here, and you could tell the competition was getting tight, and it was really tight. It ended up being, I believe it was a 23-pin margin. Yeah, it was a 23-pin margin for Hayes to win it. Last year, Great Bend wins it by a long ways. I mean, they just completely dominated last year, but Hayes finishes with a 1,115 total, which was a season best, and it set the state record, beating the mark by Great Bend last year. Liberal second with a 1092, and then Great Bend with a 1013. So you had 3 teams over 1,000 pins. That's pretty good bowling.
Very good bowling. Hey, Brent, appreciate it, and enjoy that transition into winter, okay?
Absolutely. Hopefully I can catch my breath a little bit here at some point, maybe over Christmas break.
I wouldn't hold your breath on that. That is Brent Maycock, one of the staff writers for KSHSAA Covered. Check out their work at KSHSAAcovered.com. Here's a hard truth. If your business isn't using AI in its marketing, you've already fallen behind. But there's an advertising agency in Kansas that can get you back up to speed. That agency's name is Meyers Enterprises Media Research. The name sounds dry because the company's run by engineers, not salespeople. They use superior research and analytics that drive results with surgical precision. Marketing doesn't have to be a gritty battle in the trenches. Your business can win from the box. Visit their website, mediaresearch.agency, to learn more. Welcome back on Kansas Sports Chatter. It's time for our quality time interview, an opportunity to spend a little extra time with our next guest, and that is Kyrstie Miller, the head coach of the Wamego High School girls golf team. Coming off a state championship, so congratulations on that, Coach. Appreciate you coming on the show. Like for you, and I know you've done it before, but what was the initial reaction to winning that state title?
It was pretty exciting. The girls were all really happy. Last year we kind of came up short. We kind of had a run at the state title, and we just kind of fell short in our regional and had a rough day. So, these girls worked really, really hard this summer, and it was just really fun to see them so excited and kind of see that hard work pay off for them.
You talk about the hard work and working during the summer. Anything specific you're doing, or just getting more reps in?
These girls they just kind of take it on their own, and they just grind all summer long. They're out there on the range. We have a little short game area where you can kind of work on your chipping and putting. That's kind of away from all the public play of golf. So they just kind of go out there all summer and they work hard, and they just love the game.
Going back to that state championship for Wamego, like at what point did you kind of realize that, as far as the numbers were starting to add up over that 2-day event, when did it kind of sink in for you?
We kind of went off to a really good start. We got a little bit of a lead. We were up about 10 or so strokes, and we kind of hit a little speed bump about halfway through the round. There's a par 5, hole number 12, that got us pretty good, got almost every girl pretty good. We kind of hit a speed bump there and kind of gave some strokes back, got a little tight. And then with about 3 or 4 holes left, we really kind of opened that gate. And that's kind of when I knew that we had a good chance of pulling this out.
When you go into these, especially when you're familiar with the course, like, do you know, like that certain hole, okay, hey, this one is going to be tricky? Like, did you have a pretty good idea?
I didn't actually. So the very first day was super windy. It was like 30-mile-an-hour gusts. It was a long par 5. They kind of played it back a little bit on the tees. And, the practice round, we played it perfectly fine. Everyone was comfortable with the hole. And it's just kind of a little dog leg to the right, par 5. And they had a tough pin on the very front of the green. So it was just downwind. And we just couldn't get any putts. Nobody could get any putts to stop there. And we hit a couple out of bounds. A couple different girls went out of bounds, and it just kind of piled up there for a second.
How much scouting do you do, especially for a course of this nature for a state championship? And, you've been there year, but like how much scouting do you do on a course?
We do a little bit. I mean, we played our 4A state preview there earlier this year, first tournament of the year. So the girls kind of knew what to expect going into the tournament. And then we do a practice round the day before the state tournament, just so the girls are comfortable and kind of get an idea of all the greens right before we tee off the next morning. But other than that, we just kind of trust our preparation and just kind of go out there and just play the game. Try not to overthink it.
How much time do you get on the practice round the day before?
We just get a full 18 holes in, so we can take our time and maybe putt a few extra times, chip a little bit around the greens, a little bit more than we normally would.
Well, for Wamego and you able to win it back in 2021 and 22 and getting that back-to-back, then, the couple years off, then now back on top, did it mean any more as far as maybe the third one, getting back to the top of the mountain?
Yeah, I mean, it feels good to be at the top, kind of have a little chip on our shoulder after last year. And now hopefully we just kind of keep dominating and kind of get another streak started and staying at the top here.
Well, you had a bunch of really good individual success that, finished up in that top 20 this year for Wamego. But I want to start with, Addison Douglas, just her career on an individual basis. I mean, a historic career, just the fourth girl in Kansas history to win state championships in every single year in her high school career. What makes her tick? What type of player is she, and just the athlete that she is?
Yeah, she's a great kid. She's a great player, obviously. She has just a tremendous work ethic. She's out there all summer long. She's traveling all over, playing at tournaments in the summer, playing different golf courses all the time. That'll challenge her a little bit, but she just loves the game and she's committed to the game, and she's out there on the golf course, I think, for 6-8 hours every single day in the summertime. And we have just our normal practice in the fall, and after practice she'll stay out there for another hour or two. And she just loves the game. She grinds at it. She works at it. If she's struggling at, say, her short game, then she just will spend hours and hours and hours on that short game. Or struggling with her driver a little bit, then she'll just work at it until it's darn near perfect for her.
Well, it seemed like the biggest difference this year compared to last year, you had a lot more support with Addison, as far as in that top 20. Who are some of the other girls that really stepped up this year?
Yeah, junior Lillian Costa, she had a great year. She really worked at it this summer. She really took that loss last year to heart, and she was out there with Addison just about every day of the summer as well. So it was really fun to see her kind of step up and excel a little bit. Just missed out on top 10. She got 10th, but just missed out on, fighting for that top 5 medal. Haley Honeycutt was a senior this year. She was probably our most improved player from last year. She was the same way. She was out there all summer. She's played with her dad all the time. She really, really worked at it this summer. So it was really fun to see her succeed, have a great year. Both of those actually broke 80 this year too. So that was really fun to see them get in that under 80 club. Gentry McIntosh, she's a sophomore for us this year. She was on our varsity team last year. She's improved a lot. And then we had a freshman, Maisie Nicholl, come in and really make big strides this year as a freshman and really help us out. So it was fun.
You like the way it's set up for the state tournament now as far as the 2-day events? I know it's not that long ago when it was just the 1-day events, and you mentioned kind of the weather changing from day to day too, and that plays as an element. Do you like the way it's set up?
Absolutely. I think you definitely get your best golfers and best team medaling and finishing at the top that way.
We talk about best golfers. I mean, now Wamego, you guys are on a nice run. What is it about Wamego and then the high school program that you guys have been able to find, such good golfers?
It's really just our country club up here. Wamego Country Club really supports the youth. They encourage the kids to come out. A lot of country clubs, especially private ones, kind of push kids away because sometimes kids can be a hassle. And, our club just opens them with welcome arms, and they encourage them to be out there on the range. We have, like I said, the short game area. They want them out there. They want them out there playing holes. And so it's been really fun because, our boys have been just as successful, if not more than us. And, they just welcome us. The staff's welcoming. The members are welcoming. They beg them. They come out there, and it's just really fun. It's fun to see, and that's really why we have so much success.
Well, you kind of touched on it a little bit, but in a variety of sports, they always talk about the youth programs and, starting kids early and getting them involved or at least interested in that sport. Do you do that with golf? I mean, is there a certain point where, I don't know if you want to say recruiting, but you're just getting younger kids more interested in the game of golf?
Yeah, we do a junior golf program in the summer through the country club. And then I help with that, and Coach Kitch, the boys coach, he's now our new pro up there at the country club. So we kind of run that together, and just trying to get kids out there and explore the game of golf. We also started a middle school program. This will be the third year of it this spring, which has helped a lot get some kids in there and just kind of learn the game of golf. And even if they don't want to be competitive with it, we love to have them out in our program and just kind of learning the game for a lifelong skill to have.
So for you individually, how did you get into golf? What's kind of sparked your interest in the sport?
So my dad was a big golfer. So when I was growing up, I would just ride around the golf cart with him. And then once I was old enough to kind of play, I just kind of picked it up. And that was just kind of a hobby that the two of us did together. Just kind of grew up with the game of golf and have just always stuck with it.
Was it just kind of a natural transition to start coaching? Like, when did you kind of get that bug to be a coach?
Yeah, so I started teaching here in Wamego 7 years ago. And then I started at Christmas break. So then the very first fall, Coach Kitch was the head girls coach at the time. And we had just got enough girls in our program that they needed an assistant coach. So he kind of reached out. He knew I was a big golfer, and he reached out and asked if I was interested. And then just kind of worked out that I eventually took over the head coach the next following year. And so as soon as I got to Wamego, I started coaching, and it's been a blast. I love it.
When you're in the middle of a season, like as far as improving the individuals, like how much of it is it like actually correcting a certain, maybe it's a swing or a certain technique for them, or is it just more and more practice they can get the better? But like, is there a certain point where you are trying to correct things like in the actual season?
We try not to make any like major changes in season. If there's something, if somebody gets way off a little bit, then we'll try and correct it back. But, most of that happens in the off season. We'll work with that and kind of get their swings down. We just kind of make minor tweaks during the season, especially with the full swing. We try not to change much. It's mainly just our short game that we really kind of dial in and correct in the season.
All right, you mentioned your local golf course. What's the best hole there in Wamego? Any favorites?
My favorite's probably just number 15. It's a little par 3. It's like 125 yards, so it's just kind of over the little creek, and it's just good hole in one chance. I definitely have some least favorite holes, though.
Yeah, we'll save that for a different show. Hey, Coach, appreciate it. Congratulations on the state championship, and we'll talk to you soon.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for having us on.
That's Kyrstie Miller, the head coach of the Wamego girls golf team, coming off that state title this year. SPX Specialized Video Wall Solutions. Your gym needs SPX. Welcome back on Kansas Sports Chatter. It's time for our Hall of Fame spotlights, and to help us out with the segments will be Jeff Bollig. He is the chairman for the Kansas Sports Hall of Fame. Hey, Jeff, appreciate you coming back on the show. I mean, so many good inductees over the years, and you've been, front and center for a number of those years as well. Who is our spotlight today?
Well, Cole, I think with the World Series, recent memory, and of course the Toronto Blue Jays playing in that, I thought we'd look at one of the great Blue Jays of all time, Wichita State's own Joe Carter.
Nice. Okay, so, for Joe and people that don't know, not from down south in Oklahoma, right, but Wichita State, he was a stud.
Yeah, he was. And it's interesting. He came to Wichita State when the Shockers revived their program. It had been dormant over the years. There were starts and stops to the program, but they brought in Gene Stevenson, who had been an assistant at Oklahoma. He's from Guthrie, Oklahoma. And if you look at those early years, and even continuing through the program, Stevenson made a living recruiting Oklahoma and Kansas kids, very, very regional recruiting. He'd go outside, but I believe Joe was his first high school signee. And in the first year of the program, Joe was not a member. He was in high school still. But the second year, he joined and played 3 years, was an All-American all 3 years. And his junior year, he was the NCAA Player of the Year. And just a tremendous athlete. And of course, he came kind of on a football-baseball scholarship. He played football his freshman year. And I'm sure there are some numbers involved with scholarship limits, so they could probably work them in somehow. But I think the the knowledge Stevenson had of the Oklahoma area, and obviously Joe standing out. He went to Millwood High School, who's produced a number of great athletes in Oklahoma City, and of course, great years at Wichita State. He left the year before they won the national title, and then of course playing several years in the major leagues, and has retired in Kansas City. I've run into him on occasion. Great person, just a wonderful person. And I remember back in my younger days, always hoping and thinking that it'd be natural that Joe would, he would be a Royal. It just seemed like it made too much sense, but that never happened. But still, he lives in the area, and a great guy, and really just a tremendous athlete.
I mean, you talk about a guy that hit the ground running when he arrived at Wichita State. I mean, a number of his records are still either at the top or in the top 5 at WSU, record holders. I mean, the single season batting average of 450, 34 doubles in the season, 13 triples. So, a huge impact just right away as soon as he arrived in Wichita.
You're right. I mean, as you just look back and thinking about rebuilding that program, having someone like Joe Carter as the foundation, and what they did afterwards, really, really amazing.
Okay, so what he did afterwards, I mean, you talk about being on the national stage and the world stage, kind of bounced around a little bit, after getting drafted by Chicago. But when he found his fit with Toronto, I don't know if there's a bigger hero in Toronto sports. Well, okay, I'll take that back. But he's got to be one of the top heroes in Toronto sports with that home run in the World Series.
Well, absolutely. I think it's he and Bill Mazeroski. The Pittsburgh Pirates are the only two with walk-off home runs. And, the thing is, this is Canada, and it's baseball, so hockey's going to rule, and, of course, they have the CFL, the Toronto team up there. So I don't know how popular baseball was early on, but they were a lot like the Royals franchise in that they had success early, and fell in love with the team. And of course, you looking back, they played in I think it was Exhibition Stadium. I could be wrong, but it was just an old. It doubled as a football stadium as well for the Argonauts. And it was just not a very nice stadium. And they survived, and now tremendous crowds. They draw quite well, and they've been a successful franchise. I believe, I could be wrong, but they were the top seed in the American League this year. And everybody thinks of Yankees or Brewers or Red Sox or whomever, but it was Toronto.
Yeah, Joe Carter, Toronto Blue Jays, 1990s, big time name. Hey, Jeff, appreciate the time. Good insight.
Thank you.
That is Jeff Bollig, the chairman of the Kansas Sports Hall of Fame, with our Hall of Fame Spotlight. Are you looking for a new way to promote your business or organization? Do you want to get your message out to a statewide audience that loves high school sports in both urban and rural areas? Kansas Sports Chatter has advertising opportunities from commercials, sponsoring specific guests, product placements, and even a premier sponsorship. Let Kansas Sports Chatter promote your brand. Contact ksportschatter@gmail.com for more advertising details. That's ksportschatter@gmail.com. Come join the chatter. It is Conor Nicholl Knowledge Time. Conor Nicholl with Sunflower Sports Solutions joining us here on the show today. Conor, appreciate you coming on. And for you and the Nicholl family, what are your, happy early Thanksgiving? Any Thanksgiving traditions with your family?
Yeah, certainly. So we will, this will be the 18th year since 2008 that I've covered a state championship game. So that's always been something. My daughters are 12 and almost 5. So normally we go to our friend's house. We've got our friends, the Gilberts. They're really close friends of ours. We've done Thanksgiving with them for probably 7-8 years now. Their kids are similar to our ages. They're from Kentucky and Indiana. Obviously, I'm from Missouri. My wife's family is from Quinter. They get together over Christmas. So Thanksgiving, we always do it with our friends. The Gilberts has been kind of a fun thing over the years.
Well, very nice. Well, I know you're well covered with the state championships coming up this weekend. And, when I look across the classifications, I feel like it's about half and half to me, or like half the classifications, I feel like it went according to chalk, or at least two teams that a lot of people expected. And then there's probably the other half of the classifications that do have some surprise teams. So I'll let you start wherever you want. So whether it's some of the surprise teams or the teams that people expected.
Certainly, yeah. Let's start actually in the smaller classes. 8-man Division II has been a class where Victoria has been the strong favorite in the West since day one. This is kind of the last stand for these seniors. This is a really large senior class. I mentioned here in the summer that they were the distinct favorites. You walk into, and maybe whoever doesn't, maybe for those who are not familiar with Victoria, I mean, they are a football first period school. You drive up to this school, there is a sign listing all of the state championships for football. You drive up further up to the school, right in front of the school, it says the name of the school, and there's another stone block that lists the state championships for football. You walk in the weight room, and they have finished second a few times. The only insignia you see for the team is the rings from the state championships. Quite honestly, I mean, you got them and Smith Center and some others, but they are one of the top 5 football first schools in Kansas. And this senior class really, really wants a ring. Kyle Huser's dad, of course, Kyle Huser is their best player. Kyle Huser's dad, he won a ring back in the 80s. You've got the Schmidtberger twins. They're longtime in the Victoria family as well. They are a ground and pound team. Coach Doug Oberle's been there for a long time. And then you're facing Hanover with these tremendous athletes. They've got the great quarterback in Korhorst. Last year, the Victoria really believed they could play with Axtell and maybe not win, but be competitive. And they were a little bit shocked that game was not closer. I think Hanover is a special team. Can Victoria sort their will in Greensburg? I think that's going to be your clear cut 1 and 2 teams pretty much all season. That certainly since Hanover beat Axtell a few weeks back, should be a really good matchup. 6-man, you've got the rematch, Weskin versus Cunningham, an exceptional game last year. The backstory on Weskin, I don't know if everybody knows this. Weskin purposefully dropped out of KSHSAA a couple of years ago. I did a story on this 3 or 4 years ago. When these kids were 8th grade freshmen, they dropped out of KSHSAA because their numbers were so low, knowing that they could eventually get back to being at the top. Carson Wright for them is just an exceptional player. They were probably a year ahead last year when they won state. This team was the team this year that Weskin was pinpointing as being outstanding. They played Otis, Colorado, and Colorado Power at the beginning of the year, lost the game, but was very competitive, and since then has blown out really everybody. Cunningham, this is their last year. They'll go back up to 8-man next year. I do think that Weskin is the favorite this year, while last year I think Cunningham was the consensus favorite. Then also at Greensburg, you've got that 8-man 1-1 matchup. You had some teams in the West, particularly Hill City and Waukene, that were teams that were looking to have a great year, but South Central is just really good. I mean, they're an exceptional quarterback. The Huck kid is really good. And what's cool about them is that their coach, Coach Brett Westrup, and Oswego coach Matt Fowler were roommates at Sterling. They're very close. Matt Fowler, of course, won a state championship at Spearville. Westrup a couple of years ago, that got them to a surprise state game in 8-man 2. This is the team. Talked to their superintendent actually at Greensburg last year. I'm paraphrasing here, but he goes, we lose to Hoxie in 2024. Hoxie is clearly the best team. We were competitive. 2025 is our year, and they have shown up and had a marvelous year. I think they are the favorite. And what Lincoln has done this year has been really amazing to come out of the wide open East. By far the best year in school history. You've got the twins, Jeremiah Miller, of course, at quarterback, Colby Hamel, former 4A's lineman. He was at Rock Hills as a head coach, then went to Nebraska, and then came to Lincoln. What a great story there. So as far as intrigue, those games in Greensburg all have different levels of intrigue, and I would put Victoria Hanover up there with any of the state championship games for closeness and just star power.
Want to touch on 5A before I let you go, Conor. I mean, you talk about surprise teams. I don't know if anyone, I think Baser Linwood, I mean, they're really impressive all season long, getting there on the east side. And then, Salina Central getting there as well. Also had a great regular season, but maybe overlooked. So I guess, an interesting matchup in Class 5A.
Certainly, that's the matchup that, of course, is the biggest surprise. Some notes that I wanted to make on this is when you look at Salina Central, and all those stats are at Sunflower Sports Solutions, our site. You can go back about 7 years with that. Salina Central under Mark Sandbo has been a tremendous offensive team, but they have had trouble slowing down teams. Talked to somebody today who knows Coach Sandbo really well, and I ran past that idea by them, and they said, 100% agree that Salina Central has definitely exceeded expectations this year, has been a really good team on defense relative to what they had been. Obviously Hall, the outstanding quarterback, and then Reeves, the outstanding tailback, have been exceptional. But Mark Sandbo and his coaching staff coached an unbelievable game the other night. That basically game-winning touchdown pass was thrown to somebody who had caught like maybe one or two passes the whole year. They did a great job on Premer. Central, I think, is kind of the favorite. And it's been cool to see Baser break through. For so many years in 4A, they would be 10-0, the number one seed on 4A East, and they would lose to Miege. Rod Stahlbaumer's been there for a long time. He's had a run of exceptional teams. And for the dominoes to kind of fall in 5A in a way that nobody thought. I mean, Mill Valley to beat Aquinas, then St. James, who even in their 4A state championship years has always had issues with Mill Valley, and then of course Baser to beat St. James. A really cool story that you've got two coaches who have been at their programs for a while, and one of them is going to win their first state championship.
Hey, Conor, appreciate the insight, and enjoy your Thanksgiving.
Hey, certainly, Cole. Appreciate all things. Thanks so much.
That is Conor Nicholl with Sunflower Sports Solutions, and that'll do it for our football chatter.
Being hydrated is essential for performing at your best. Remember to drink plenty of water before, during, and after practice or games. Fuel your body with hydration, balanced meals, and rest to recover and stay fit. Staying healthy means you maintain your strength and continue performing at your best. Hydrate your way to success.
It is our next level talent segments on Kansas Sports Chatter, an opportunity to talk to former high school athletes from the state of Kansas that are now competing at a college or university in the state of Kansas. Today's guest, Kassidy Nixon, a member of the Pittsburg State University volleyball team and out of Central Plains High School. Hey, Kassidy, appreciate you coming on the show. For you, going back to those Oiler days, what do you remember about competing with Central Plains?
Oh, it was a long time ago now. But I remember obviously coming from a small school, it's a lot different than it is going into a college level. But the girls I had over the 4 years, we competed well. We did well. My sophomore year, we made it to state one and haven't won since 2014. And then going into my junior year, we also made it to state and won. And then my senior year, we got third. So it was good. We just came in and competed well.
Well, you mentioned a lot of winning. I felt like that was what was really happening a lot at Central Plains. What was it like just going to school there? I mean, and going through such a winning culture. It seemed like every sport was thriving, especially when you were there.
Oh yeah, it was really exciting. You didn't really think too much about it while you were there, but looking back, like it was very exciting just knowing that you had, even if you were from a small school, you still had a very successful career.
Well, I mean, look at your, athletic career there at Central Plains. Like, I mean, playing basketball, obviously you're, player of the year, and then, softball combining with Hoistington as well. But like, was there ever any moments where like it was a hard decision for you on which sport you wanted to do in college?
Yes, growing up, it was always going to be softball, softball, softball for me. And then I think just after going a couple years in high school, I realized that I was competing well in volleyball and how much I liked it. And then volleyball or basketball was always kind of a little lower for me, but I just liked the thrill of it. So I never really thought about basketball in college, so it was a tough decision between volleyball and softball, but I realized volleyball is what I wanted to do, and I'm glad I did it.
Any thought on doing both sports, I guess, in college?
Yes, I could have done both. At Barton, I was offered to do volleyball and softball, and there are definitely some days where I wish I tried to dual sport it just to give it a chance. But my freshman year, I had some back issues, which medically redshirted me. So I think overall, it was probably best that I only did one sport.
So, I mean, like if you stepped out there in the circle, like for Pitt State, do you feel like you still get a few strikeouts?
Maybe. Sometimes when my sister was pitching, I would go do workouts with her and just to see how I would do. And it was a little rough, but I think if you gave me a couple weeks, I could hop back on it.
I imagine so. You mentioned Barton, stopping there first before going to Pitt State, obviously close to home. How much fun was it at Barton?
Oh, I loved it. If I could go back, I would go again and give it another couple years. I met a great amount of people there. Like you meet internationals, people from all over the country. So it was just a great experience, and it's just nice that it's just comfortable there. It's not far from home. So if I wanted to go home for a home-cooked meal, it was great.
And then now making that transition to Pittsburg State, I know Coach Bessaker, making that move over too, so that helped out. But what else went into your recruitment to be a Gorilla?
It was definitely a tough decision because I was done and I was taking a gap semester this last spring. So I was just living at home and working, trying to figure out my next plans. And when she called me, I was like, oh, maybe this is my second chance to go and have fun again. I don't know. I'd say it was just a great decision for me.
What else do you like about Pitt State so far in your junior year?
I really like my teammates, and it's far, but it's not terribly far from home. I'd say a hard thing is just like not having my family at games as much as I'm used to, because obviously at Barton they would always be at every game. So that's the biggest adjustment, I would say. But other than that, I love it here. It's like home away from home.
You look at the competition level and kind of those transitional steps for you. Like, what's that jump been like going from high school and then going to Barton and now at Division II at a Pitt State? What have you noticed in those jumps?
I'd say the competition level is definitely better each year. Going from high school to Barton was definitely an adjustment, and realized I had a lot to work on and get and improve from. And then with Megan, I'd say she helped me a lot. I would go and work with her over the summer, and she just really helped my skill level from high school into a college level. And then from Barton to Pitt, I'd say it's not terribly too much different. It's still competitive, but each team, it's like about the same. You don't have some games where it's like, oh, this one's an easier game. It's all about the same hard level.
You talk about skill level and Megan working with you. What are some of the individual things that you have improved on over the last year or so?
I'd say with Megan, she really helped me focus on passing, because in high school I didn't pass really. I hit and set, so I didn't have to really work on serve receive or defense as much. So with Megan, she really helped me improve on my serve receive.
Kassidy, appreciate the time and best of luck the rest of the season.
Thank you.
That is Kassidy Nixon, a member of the Pittsburg State University volleyball team and out of Central Plains High School, part of our Next Level Talents. Are you a person that's always on the go? You can still easily keep up with Kansas Sports Chatter with the audio podcast. Hear each episode on Spotify, Apple, or wherever you listen to your podcasts. Make sure to follow the Kansas Sports Chatter podcast. Thanks to the sponsors, Meyers Enterprises and also SPX. That'll wrap up the pre-Thanksgiving show. No show coming up on Thursday as we celebrate Thanksgiving. We'll be back at it the following Tuesday. Again, plenty of thanks out to everyone that has watched and listened, and also the two sponsors with Meyers Enterprises and SPX. Anthony Gorges, a radio broadcaster out of Junction City, will close out today's show with one of his highlights. Enjoy your holiday, everybody.
Third down and 25. Here goes a man in motion from right to left. A straight drop for the quarterback. Here's going to be a screen to the near side. Pass is intercepted. It is picked. Taking it back the other way for 6 on a pick 6. Interception return for a touchdown is number 13, Toby Johnson. A 22-yard pick 6 to cap it off for the Blue Jays.